Hello and welcome to Babsa's Delicacies. Today we're going to be learning how to prepare a yam dish. It's called Yam Bake. Now, I was thinking that through this lockdown, most of us are not able to preserve our yam. And so I was thinking, what can we probably do with our yam? And then I thought of Yam Bake. And so these are the ingredients you need. I have my yam all peeled up with salt and sugar in it. It will go on the fire in a bit. I've got my vegetables. I've got onions, green pepper, carrots, spring onions, French beans, and then paprika. That's my favorite part. I've also got minced meat. If you don't have minced meat, feel free to use corned beef. It's okay. I also have milk. I have my margarine. I have my nutmeg, my seasoning, dried fish powder, and then I've got my ginger, garlic, and onions blended. And I've got my oil, which I'll be using as a base. So stick with me and let's go through a step-by-step procedure of how to make our yam bake. First of all, I'll pop my yam on the fire. Okay, so yam is on fire, and while it was on fire, I went up to chop all my vegetables nicely. So carrots are chopped, green peppers done, onions done, French beans done, spring rolls done, and the pepper done. Now I need about a spoonful of the oil, and I put it in my pan. What we're going to do is to prepare the mince whilst we wait for the yam to cook. So come with me as we go through the steps to prepare the mince. First off, you need your oil. So oil in the pan is going to go on the fire, and then I'll talk you through the steps that we go through to get it cooked. I'll start off my cooking by frying a bit of the onions in the oil. So of course it needs to fry a bit. So whilst we wait for it to fry, heat up and fry, we keep stirring until it's all fried up, and then we can go on to add the rest of the vegetables to it. Okay, I think at this point I'd wish to add my pepper. I love pepper. Unfortunately, I don't have a lot of pepper in the house today, but well, I'll make do with what I have today. So I'll leave it to simmer for a bit, just a little bit, so that the flavors can be infused into the oil. So let's just wait for it to simmer a bit and then we proceed. Okay, so next up, we're going to pour in our mince. And then as soon as we put the mince, we're also going to add a seasoning of garlic, ginger, and onions, and allow it to cook for a bit. Okay, so make sure that you stir so that it's evenly mixed up, and then the mince is also well cooked. So as you keep stirring and you leave it on the fire for a while, you add your seasoning. I prefer Maggi mixed tea, so I use just one sachet of it. Now this seasoning actually gives it a very beautiful flavor. I love Maggi mixed tea, and it gives a very beautiful flavor. Now you don't want to know you don't want to imagine the aroma that's coming from this preparation as we do it now. Okay, so we just leave it to cook for about 3 to 5 minutes. Okay, at this point, you can go on and add your veggies, and it's appropriate that you add your harder vegetables first so that it gets a bit more of time to cook And you don't want to overcook them too, so you have to have a good balance between cooking and overcooking them. So don't let it stay on the fire for so long, because don't forget that it's going to go into the oven to bake as well. So there's also another cooking going to go on. Okay, so at this point we can now add all our soft vegetables like the green peppers, onions, and the spring onions, and you can taste it to correct the taste of what you're doing. So if you think you need a bit more of pepper, you can add. If you need a bit more of salt, it's okay to add. Now, like I said in the beginning, if you don't have mincemeat, you can use corned beef and it's fine. It will do just fine. So you make sure you taste to see that it's okay, and then you can round up and leave this to stand as we wait for our yam to cook and prep it. So yam is ready to be mashed now, and so what you do is that you take about a tablespoon to 2 of butter, or depending on the quantity of yam you're doing, you may want to increase your butter, and then you mash it very hot, making sure that as you mash, you aim to mix the butter with the yam. You need to do it very hot so that the yam butter can melt evenly in the yam. By the way, when you finish, you're going to have to use your hand to mix it properly. So you have to bear that in mind. It's very hot, so as you do it, you need to be very careful. So here is me mashing the yam. I'll just mash it. When I finish, I'll just use my hand to add the rest of the ingredients and mix it up properly. So yam all mashed up. When you use your hand, you may have a bit of lumps, so you can just use your hand to crush those lumps as you mix them up. So other ingredients will be added in at this point. Okay, so here we are trying to mix. Like I said earlier, it's very hot, so you have to be careful. Now I'm going to add my ingredients, and I'm going to add a teaspoonful of white pepper. Just added a teaspoonful of white pepper, and then I also go on to add another teaspoon full of nutmeg, and then I'll go on to add my fish powder, about 1 to 2 tablespoons of fish powder. Now if you want it more because you'd want to taste the fish, it's okay, you are welcome to do that, it's fine. Now this is really very hot, so you need to be careful. Right, at this point I'll add my milk. Now depending on how creamy you want it to be, you would want to add more milk, but what I'm going to do is to just add 1/4 of a tin. So just 1/4 of a tin is fine for me. If you want it creamy, please feel free to add as much as you want. So when all is mixed up at this point, you'd want to taste it to see if your seasonings are okay, or if you need a bit of salt. You're free to add salt if you want. If it's okay, yeah, you're good to go. So this is just fine for me. This is just fine for me. So we are now coming to put it in our pie dish, and then we'll pop it into the oven. Okay, so we're all set to go. Now we're going to put this in layers. So my pan or my pie dish is well greased now. So what you do is to put a layer of your mixed yam mixture in there. And then you scoop a bit of your mince onto it, evenly spread. You top it up with another layer of yam. Then another layer of mince. So if you have a big pan, you can make a very big quantity for the whole family to share. And well, if you have a big family too. Okay, so mince going in there. Then we'll top it up with our yam. And make sure that it's all covered up nicely. And then what you do now is to pop it in the oven for about 30 to 45 minutes. It's fine. It will be ready to serve. So let's take it to the oven and let's wait for a few minutes, 30 to 45 minutes, and let's see what we're able to get out of it. Right, so our yam bake is ready. It's all browned up nicely. So we are ready to serve. I'll just cut a little bit. This is a whole meal on its own. So you can give it to the kids. There's your protein, there's also your carb. So it's a whole pot meal on its own. And our yam bake is ready to be eaten. Very yummy. Try it at home and subscribe to Bab's Delicacy on YouTube. Have a lovely day.